Hello and welcome. Today I'll be doing another demo reading, exploring some of the personality resonance mapping in the human design system that I find so intriguing. And so today we're looking at a 4-1 emotional generator. And so we'll begin with the sun and the earth. This is right up here in the top over here, and we're only basically going to be looking at this right-hand side. This is the personality. This is what we're consciously aware of and what can be easy to identify with. And so we're seeing the personality sun in the gate 42, line 4. This is the gate of growth, increase, and completion. This is the expansion of resources, which maximizes the development of full potential in the line 4 of the middleman. So being able to play a role that can bring other people together in maximizing our potential together. And that's the force that is shining through with this personality. The force that grounds this personality to the earth. This is gate 32, also in the 4th line. And so this 32nd gate is of continuity and duration. The only thing which endures is change. In line 4, right is might. So rather than might makes right, this is right is might. And so this has to do with holding true to one's principles, with staying true to what is right for the individual. And so this personality, sun and earth right here, this basically forms the inner character from which the essence of someone's cognition stems from, their basis of conceptualizing. And so we're seeing gate 42 of growth and expansion by connecting other people together. And we're seeing gate 32, this capacity to ground into the experience by owning what is right for the individual, by being correct by your own standards. And so that's the basis of this person's cognition. And what environment is this person thinking within? And so the sun and earth is this inner being. And here we have the south node and the north node of the personality, which is representing the outer world that the person can see, what resonates to their vision and what they're seeing around them. And so first off here, we're seeing gate 4 in the personality north node in the 2nd line. This is the gate of answers, of formalization, and of youthful folly. This is the energy to charm other people and succeed despite ignorance, freedom from retribution. In the 2nd line of acceptance, the recognition of limitation in oneself and others leads to tolerance and the suspension of judgment. So here we're looking at this gate 4 in the 2nd line in the personality north node. It has to do with what this person is seeing in the world around them, and it has to do with seeing the answers and being able to youthfully engage with them in such a way that the answers, despite perhaps being ignorant, perhaps the answers are not correct, but there is this capacity to charm other people into following them through in this path. And we know that the foundation of their cognition up here in the sun and earth is coming through with right is might, this 4th line of the 32, this capacity to be right by oneself. And so then in the 4, we see we're bringing other people in on what's right to ourself. That's what this person can do. And it's also around the principles, this gate 49, the principles and the revolution. This is ideally the transformation of forms based on the highest principles and not simply for power. In line 2, which is the last resort. And so this means that we're bringing people together. We're seeing an environment around us wherein we're bringing people together, and we're seeking revolution if necessary. If we can't find the peace, the joy, if we can't find the rightness within our behavior in the current system, there is this capacity to make larger change in the world around you and to witness people around you stepping into a revolution. So in the inner being, we have a person who is focused on growth and expansion by connecting people together, using what is right as the unifying factor. And on the outside, we have the principles of revolution and many answers that can charm others and bring them into the field of resonance this person is belonging to. And so next up, we have these 9 planets in the personality magic square. This opens up from the moon, and it demonstrates the unique resonance qualities of the personality. So this moon is the specific focus of a person. It's what focuses them into their differentiating path, and it's what focuses them into a unique perspective. And this is a focus of gate 17 in the 3rd line. This is the gate of opinions and the gate of following. The ancient law that those who wish to rule must know how to serve. In the 3rd line, understanding, the awareness that the best road is not necessarily the most interesting. So here we see an opening up into the personality range coming in through opinions of understanding. This is understanding that it's not always the most interesting thing that is the best. Sometimes something that is not so interesting might be superior to what first catches your eye. And so by honoring these opinions, by honoring what may or may not be the most interesting, there is this potential to access in the diagonal this Mars. And so the Mars here represents a personal mutation that someone is bringing into the world, a change that they are here to live out and potentially other people to get sparked by. And this mutation is gate 28, the game player, in the 6th line, the blaze of glory. So this is being able to ponder what is great in life and the recognition that power and influence are transitory. They're only temporary. And so this 6th line, called the blaze of glory, is said to be sacrifice rather than capitulation to the law of deteriorization. So what I'm seeing here is this mutation around playing the game of life, around taking risks in life and what is worth fighting for. And this person with the 6th line, what they believe that is worth fighting for, what is right by them, what gives them their might, this is their ability to just go straight into what they're doing and just blaze a trail and be willing to accept sacrifice, be willing to accept loss, rather than surrender and acquiesce to forces that would bring deterioration into one's life. So being able to go out in a blaze of glory in a certain direction and blaze a new trail by taking risks and knowing which risks to take. This is the mutation coming through the individual. And that mutation doesn't exactly sound very stable. Taking risks is not exactly stable. And so how can they hold this together? Well, the personality differentiation map, this diagonal here, is held together by the personality Saturn. This is the constraint of the personality. This is gate 27, caring and nourishment, enhancement of the quality and the substance of all activities through caring. In line 4, generosity, the natural sharing of attained abundance. And so here we see something that can fit right in with the idea of what is right, in that when you have the might from being right and you take risks and you have great rewards, what do you do with those rewards? Well, the personality is constrained by caring for other people and having care in what one does and being able to be generous, to have an influence on other people's lives by sharing what has been brought into theirs with others. And in doing that sharing of abundance, in that generosity, they will actually find security and safety in their risk-taking, in their new mutative path they're taking by following strategy and authority, which we'll get more into in a moment. And next up, we have the personality Uranus up here in the top right. And so once you have this mutative path activated, it's coming in through the moon, it's mutating from the Mars. The Saturn is constraining it and holding it together. The unique path of the Uranus can open up. This is the life track or the side track. This is gate 13, the listener, the fellowship of man. These are universal ideas and values in an ordered framework which inspires cooperation. In line 4 of fatigue, this is the point of exhaustion eventually reached when one is too tired to fight. So here we're seeing someone who can go through in a blaze of glory and they can really just fly through life, and they can have a power that can really, well, it could cause some damage, and it can also be quite spectacular. However, in the honoring of the balance of generosity, they find stability. And the thing is with those risk-taking, and with that blaze of glory, they might fight so hard and with so much power that they cannot push any longer. They find exhaustion. And in that exhaustion, in that relaxation, that surrender of the blaze of glory, when it's finally done burning out and you can rest, there is this capacity to listen and to hear universal ideas in an ordered framework. And that can bring one back into knowing what is right by being able to hear out what the other has to say. And lastly, in this differentiating path is the personality Pluto. This is the individual's personal truth. And this is gate 9, the focus, the taming power of the small, potential that can be fulfilled through detailed attention to all pertinent aspects in the line 5 of faith. This is the trust that detailed adherence will lead to fulfillment. And so there's the potential to realize the truth, is to realize the faith of this person, that paying attention to the details, that being able to give what they have won out of their blaze of glory, out of their mutation they bring into the world, to share it with others in generosity. They can see their own faith, they can see their own focus, and they can see what really begins to matter in their life and what opinions resonate with them. And so that makes up this differentiation diagonal here from Moon to Mars to Pluto to Uranus and Saturn. This is the differentiating path for this individual. And so that little story I was telling about a person who cares a lot about other people, bringing people together, perhaps causing a revolution if there is no peaceful way through, opening up into this person who can have a powerful blaze of glory by focusing in on details and giving to other people what they have won. All of that story, it doesn't actually mean anything unless the person is following their strategy and authority. However, before we get into the strategy and authority, I want to speak a little bit about the differentiating path, because when somebody is in their own correctness, there are still 4 planets left that have an imprint that is really important. This is the Mercury, the Venus, the Jupiter, and the Neptune. And so, as opposed to the differentiating path, this diamond here isn't trying to show us a unique perspective so much as this diamond is what holds together different unique perspectives in stability. And so this is more about connecting to other people in a more homogenized way. And so here we have personality Mercury. This is the essence of the communication from the being. And this is gate 36 in the 5th line. This is the underground of the crisis. The rule of cycles in which decline is a natural but not enduring stage. And so there is this person's ability to not only have this potential to have a revolution, but they're in the underground. They're in those people that are the underdogs and the underspoken and the underrepresented. And they're able to communicate with them around the crisis and to connect us together through unknown pathways. And what are they communicating? Well, they're going to be communicating their values here in this personality Venus, the 20th gate. This is the gate of the now, the gate of contemplation, recognition and awareness in the now, which transforms understanding into right action. In line 3, self-awareness, understanding derived from analysis of personal actions and effects. And so this person's values, what is valuable to their personality and what they'll be communicating to other people, are the values of learning from your own mistakes, to be able to see what right action is for you out of contemplation in the now. And so these values also have rules in the Saturn. These are the rules of the stability for this being. And this is gate 21, the hunter and the huntress, biting through. This is the justified and necessary use of power. in overcoming deliberate and persistent interference. And it is in the sixth line. The sixth line is of chaos. This is where ineffective action can lead to disorder. So here we have rules. So we need to be able to learn from our mistakes. We need to be able to connect to each other in the underground through crisis. But what are the rules? Well, the rule is to take control for yourself. And the thing with that taking control for yourself in this 21, in the sixth line, is that there can be chaos in it. So this resonates in a sense with the 2027 and the coming of the next age, wherein there is shock in the plan for humanity. And so the chaos here is just part of individuals taking control in their own way. And so they're going to be communicating their ability to take control and the ability to learn from your own mistakes with being generous in this blaze of glory. And the thing is, too, connecting this diamond together is the Neptune. And the Neptune is a veiling force. The Neptune is called the misinformation for the being. On the personality side, at least. On the design side over here, there's a totally different system for the physicality of the being. But over here on the personality side, we're looking at the Uranus, or rather not the Uranus, we're looking at the Neptune, the misinformation. And the misinformation is around contraction and decrease in gate 41. This is also the gate of desire. I find it very fascinating that this gate of desire here in the root center, pushing up towards the fates in the 30. This 41st gate is called contraction and decrease, and it's also considered the gate of desire. So here we have the limitation of resources, which maximizes the development of potential. Once again, we're back into maximizing potential for this being, but it's around misinformation, and it's around efficiency in this third line right here. In times of decrease, selfishness is justified. So the ability to be selfish in one's desires when things are decreasing, when things are getting thin and it's getting tight, you can be selfish about things. And the thing is other people might not be too happy about that. They might say, I don't care if you have nothing, you should still be giving to the poor. You should still be giving it all away. But for this person, there is the capacity to be selfish for themselves when they need to. Even though what holds together their differentiation pathway, this 27.4, is of generosity. When they need to, they can be selfish for themselves. And other people might misinformation around that. Other people might get upset around the way in which you care for yourself. And so my reminder to you, who I'm reading this chart for, is to not worry yourself about what other people think around your own selfishness. When you need to care for yourself, you need to care for yourself, and that's just the way it is. And so that is the differentiating story for this being, looking at these activations here and seeing the unique potentials inherent within them. If we get into the actual reality of what's happening in life for a person with this chart, if they're not following their type strategy and inner authority, so this is a generator, an emotional generator, and so that means that in life they do not need to initiate anything. They do not need to go out of their way to make something happen. They merely need to wait for life to come to them and then respond to what shows up. Because the thing about a generator type, which is anybody with this defined sacral center right here, every generator has an open, enveloping, and attractive aura. So we are pulling in the world towards us. And we need only to respond to what shows up, because what shows up is in perfect timing. This is how we honor the manifestation truth of an individual vehicle. Not just what you're thinking about manifesting into the reality, but the actual body itself having a mechanism for manifestation, and it's through response. And so the inner authority here is emotional. This person has no access to the truth in the moment of right now. They only have relative clarity in an emotional wave. And this is a powerful ratcheting wave of the tribe. So this wave can click, 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 kaboom! And it's mindful to be aware of that. When the kaboom happens, when someone crashes back down, that's a time of decrease, and it's a time to get selfish about oneself and to get back into what is important for the individual. not to worry about what other people think or say about it, and to honor that emotional process, to wait for clarity, because the sacral might say, yes, I want something, or it might say, no, I don't want something, but then at another moment in the emotional wave, that can change. And so by waiting for the wave to cycle, to go through its process, the awareness of the individual is enriched and expanded into a bigger picture where clarity can actually be found. And so that's how we get into correct manifestation, is by responding rather than initiating and waiting for emotional clarity. However, you might see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 open centers up here. And from the moment of birth, these 5 open centers are pulling us in a certain way. And our mind is amplifying what's going on inside them. And so the first primary and most important thing for this being ever, in their mind, in their not self, is to prove their worthiness to other people, because they don't have a way to value themselves naturally. The ego, this heart, is undefined. And so the opinions from other people can really have an impact on how they feel about themselves. And in the not self, it's pulling you to find validation from other people. Next up here in the self center, this is the G, the center of gravitation. This is what gives us our direction in life. And so people with an undefined G are seeking love and direction outside of themselves in life. So maybe you will be my direction. Maybe you will be my direction. Maybe you will be my direction. And finally solidify what's happening on this plane, because it's so different. Where I am makes such a big difference to what's happening in my life with this undefined G. You can be pulled in all kinds of different directions by the environment. And moving up here, we have the throat center. This throat center is, if I remember correctly, it is the least powerful pull of all of them. And yet it's a pull you are familiar with, I'm sure, each and every one of you. This is the desire to get attention. It's the least important out of all 9 center themes in the not self, and yet it's so prominent, this need to have attention from other people. So people with this open throat center can become masters of attention, of gathering attention and dismissing attention. But as a child, as a baby, it could simply be crying and crying and crying until someone shows up. Oh, it worked. Okay, great. I'll just cry and they'll show up. How messy that can be. The open ajna center. This is pretending to be certain around things. Pretending to be certain in your mind about concepts. Trying to not feel mentally weak to other people. I don't want them to think I don't know what I'm talking about, so I'm going to tell them I'm certain. I'm very sure. Even when it never is. This undefined ajna doesn't think for itself. It thinks relative to the imprinting from the world around it. And so thoughts, thinking does not really belong to this person. Thinking can happen, but being identified with the thinking is very dangerous. Allowing that to dictate your behavior, now that's the end of the life. Because if the mind controls the body, essentially for us that means death. We are 9-centered human beings. This matrix, as we are now, evolved 1781. It's less than 200 years ago. And we've had a mind for more like 90,000 years. And so for 90,000 years or so, this mind was the dominant force controlling the life through fear around survival. And now, in these 9-centered vehicles, we don't have to be ruled by fear for survival. We can thrive and communicate with each other in brand new ways and explore whole new avenues of consciousness together. And that's only by following the strategy and the authority, for this being responding, not initiating, and waiting for clarity, not necessarily being spontaneous. The last open center is this head center. This head center is about thinking of things that don't matter. It's being preoccupied with what doesn't matter. And somehow this led us to survive longer in the past, in the survival history of humanity, long ago. Being able to be busy around things that don't matter, it could benefit somebody else. And in turn, we can all benefit each other. But the thing around this differentiating pathway of life nowadays is that thinking about things that don't matter, that can be such a destabilizing force, and it can only be grounded back in by the strategy and the authority. And by listening to the strategy and the authority, this person can unlock this beautiful story of coming together with other people as the middleman, uniting us together in a blaze of glory towards the truth that only takes a break when it needs to listen to each other again, when we need to contemplate and feel each other out to find out what is right and to give things back to each other, so that we can know what to focus on to find out what truly is right in our lives. Yeah. So there's a little beautiful story of someone's body graph and what I can share a little bit about that. I really enjoy exploring these personality resonance maps. They give a whole new light to what can be said from a body graph. Because before I could just look at these open centers and say all these open gates are where your not self is, and it will be so important, but being able to see this differentiating pathway and tell a story of a person that's unique, it's such a joy. And so I hope you're having a good one. If you'd like to learn more about this, feel free to reach out. I have a class on mechanical reality that's 4 weeks long, kind of a big deal. And I also could do these individual readings if you're interested in one. So I hope you're having a great day. Take care. Bye for now.